this is a good one. Howard, calling in from England with no pronouns given, asks, why do atheists ignore and dismiss empirical evidence in nature to maintain their faith in theories? This is going to be an interesting call. Howard, you are on AXP. How are you doing today?
I'm very good, thank you. And thank you for having me on. I'm actually calling from Spain, but I'm English.
Okay. No, I appreciate the distinction. That's cool. Right on. Well, yeah. So tell me a little bit about what you're asking, because like this is a really common thing that we get quite a bit, especially me. I study and teach science for a living, so I get things like this all the time from people, and so like it's something I'm familiar with, but I want to make sure I understand exactly what you're saying, so I don't just straw man what you're going on based on what I already expect it to be. You know what I mean? So please tell us exactly what you're asking here.
Thank you. Well, it's like you guys are talking about the scientific method, and as a theist, I like to try and test all things like the Bible and the Quran recommend. So I do scientific experiments, I make primary observations, and then I promote that other people reproduce these observations and see if they get the same or alternative results to compare evidence. Yeah, I tend to get ridiculed by atheists, and I wonder if it's because you guys are scared of final judgment, and maybe that's why you dismiss and ignore empirical evidence when it doesn't suit your confirmation bias. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to figure out why it is.
No, that's fine. I don't mean rude to. I just giggled a little bit, and I don't mean to be rude to you. I'm giggling because it's fatuous to me, but I'll explain why in a minute. Please continue. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just like I say, it's like I literally follow the scientific method. I use my God-given senses to try and verify claims and secondary information by making primary observations. And yet when I went on Spanish television and I offered 10,000 euros in 2018 because nobody was taking my inquiries seriously. And I'd offered 1,000 in 2017 on Facebook, and people were like laughing at me still. So I put it up to 10,000. I went on Spanish television, and I said, look, just prove half of what's expected at water level, observing out at an island or along the coast. Show me some landscape visibly hidden due to curvature. And no one was able to for 3 years. So I consider myself a skeptic. Yet I get ridiculed by people that claim to be skeptics that will not make the observations even for 10,000 euros.
So just to be clear, Howard, you were talking about, testing the Bible and that you said a lot of things there, but then towards the end you were talking about curvature as well. You saying that the Earth is flat? Is that what I'm gathering from that?
Oh, no, I don't believe that Earth's two-dimensional, because I believe that thoughts, feelings, memories are probably in a higher dimension. I definitely believe angels are in a higher dimension.
Well, I'm saying, do you believe that the Earth is a globe or an oblate spheroid?
No, definitely not.
How did we get here? We were talking about God.
10,000 euros.
So that's a whole other thing,
Yeah, but
and we can.
No. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, I'm just saying that. No, you're fine. The shape of the Earth is a whole other business, and we can totally get into that in a minute. But I don't think it's super pertinent to the show. But I'm happy to get there if we would like. What I'm more interested in is two things that you said. One of them was you talked about us as atheists fearing judgment, and the other thing is you talked about in the call screen here. You said that we're dismissing empirical evidence in order to maintain faith in theories, and you said something similar to that while you're speaking there as well. And I just want to touch on those things first to start off with. First of all, the thing about not wanting judgment, and I'm sure Armin, you have something about this as well. So I'll just quickly say that I don't fear eternal judgment from any God because I don't believe that any God exists. So it wouldn't really make any sense for me to have an issue with that any more than I would be fearing being tortured in Barad-dûr by Sauron. That's certainly a scary sounding situation, but I don't believe that Sauron's real and I don't believe that Barad-dûr is real. And so therefore I'm not terribly worried about that whole situation. You know what I mean? And so if I'm talking about a God, the reason why I'm not afraid of it is because I don't think it's real. If someone comes to me with evidence for a God or is trying to prove a God to me, my fear of hell or judgment doesn't factor into that. I really do try to take it at face value. I have yet to see anything that convinces me in any way of a God existing. And that leads me to the second point, which talked about faith in theories. Yeah, you said that you engage in the scientific method, so I'm not going to patronize you by explaining this to you, but for everybody else who's listening who might be curious, a theory is not a guess, and it's not a hypothesis, and it's not an assumption. A theory is the best explanation that we have for observed natural phenomena. It's a functional explanation for things that we observe in the universe that's backed by all the best evidence that we have. So common theories that everybody takes for granted are things like gravity, cells, germs, plate tectonics, the shape of the earth, evolution, all these things that we are really, really confident in, and we're know for sure are real things. We'll disagree about the shape of the earth later, I'm sure, but like a theory is not just something that we have faith in. It's something that we test and verify and check and critique and back up with tons of evidence constantly. And it's something that has to make testable predictions about reality. It's not just a doctrine or a dogma. It's something that has to be functional. And so to say that we have faith in a theory, to me, sounds like either a gross misunderstanding of what a theory is, or a gross misunderstanding of what faith is, or just a lack of appreciation for how science actually works. And I'm not sure which one it would be in this case.
Could I answer that quickly before?
By all means, yes. I just spoke for a fat minute, so give me a brief answer, and then I want to hear what Armin has to say.
Yeah, that's cool. No, I appreciate that. Well, it's literally what Armin was saying before, that evidence is supposed to be observable, measurable, and reproducible. And the evidence that globe skeptics like myself have is, yet you guys are literally ignoring empirical evidence that's reproducible to stand with theories, because I don't think you can give me any observable or measurable evidence of curvature. And afterwards we can talk about why this matters about a creator and intelligent design. But yeah,
sure, okay.
Please,
Armin, go ahead, because I do have some, and we'll get into it. But Armin, please.
Yeah. So first of all, I don't know what this got to do with you say you atheists. We atheists just don't believe in God. We have atheists who don't believe that the Earth is a globe. We have atheist flat earthers. So I don't know why you are assuming that all atheists disagree with you on the Earth, not being the shape that you said you're not a flat earther. I don't know what shape you think the Earth is, but whatever you think, we have many atheists that believe in weird things that other that you might also agree with. But you also mentioned that you think that we are denying evidence because we are afraid of Judgment Day. I mean, if we're denying the evidence and if we don't believe in Judgment Day, right? So it would probably be the other way around. I mean, if we are afraid of Judgment Day, we will probably just believe in God just to be safe. So this is the opposite of what somebody would do if they actually did fear Judgment Day. But let's go to because your call was about why are we denying evidence? So what atheists are denying, or what atheists are not believing in, right, is the God claim, right? And you say that you use the scientific method to believe in the things that you believe in. Is that what you said? You apply the science. Okay, so let's go to the God claim. How do you apply the scientific method? What observable, verifiable, measurable, repeatable experiments are you conducting, or what scientific analysis are you conducting that verifies the God claim? How do you know that's true using the scientific method?
Sure thing. I've got two little kind of things like experiments, observations. But just to quickly on your point before, I've been a globe skeptic for 7, nearly 8 years, and I've never met an atheist globe skeptic. I've met agnostics, but I've not met any atheists.
I have.
No,
I have.
Have I ever met that are flat earthers or globe skeptics?
I have.
I think if you pressed them on it, they're agnostic, not so much hard atheists. That's interesting. I've not, and I've met a lot. But okay. So about the science, I literally put my money where my mouth was, like I say, to try and get people to repeat the experiments. And one of the experiments, or you could say observations, is at water or at land level, next, like at the coast. So you're pretty much water level, and you can look from Benidorm to Sand Beach, 20 miles.
Are we good?
And you don't see.
Can you answer my question? Can you answer my question? Are you talking the globe claim? Like, I'm not talking about the globe, whether the Earth is globe shaped or not. I'm talking about your, because that's what we don't believe in. We as atheists, we don't believe in God. You say we are denying that because of, I don't know, whatever reason came up, but you seem to use the scientific method and you believe in God. So how do you use the scientific method to demonstrate that the God claim is one that we have to take seriously?
Okay, so if the Earth isn't a globe, we're not in physical, not lost, floating around in physical space. That means that Earth has a special location, center stage, and that this what we would call the universe, our cosmology, is contained, and that there's water above. So that gives credit to both the Quran, the Bible, and lots of ancient cultures that believe this. So it's very difficult to dismiss the idea of a creator if we're a contained cosmology with the center stage. And
all right, you know what? I'm gonna assume you're right. I'm gonna make this easy, okay? You're right, okay? The Earth is not a globe, and we're at the center of the universe, right? I'm gonna accept that, okay? So you go from saying the Earth is the center. The space, okay, I'll give you that as well. You think going from that to the God claim, that being your evidence for God, you think you're using the scientific method when you say that? You think that's your idea of using the scientific method?
If space isn't physical, then it's metaphysical, higher dimensions, higher dimensional beings. So yeah, we're ignoring that there's higher dimensions.
The issue with what you're saying here, Howard, is that the issue with what you're saying here, Howard, is that you're stacking claims as if one necessarily implies the other. So like what Armin was just saying there, okay, we'll grant half of these premises for you. We'll just assume that all of that is true. But then also, if the space is metaphysical, then there must be metaphysical beings. No, that just you've shown that space is physical or metaphysical. And then if you show there's metaphysical beings, cool. But then you haven't shown that any of those are the God of the Bible or that they created it. And if you show that, you still haven't shown that they have any special protection. So each individual claim needs its own evidence. So we can't just say, the earth is flat, therefore this, therefore this, therefore this, therefore this. We have to have a different set of evidence for every single one of those things. And I just want to point out the fact that the evidence is not in your favor even at the beginning of that. I know that Armin was being very charitable saying he'll accept all of it, but you do understand we're not just having faith in theories here. Literally, and this is not an exaggeration, literally every single thing that we know about science would have to be wrong in order for the earth to not be round. Like that, it would change everything, not just the cosmology, not just the God claim, actually physically every single thing that we know about the universe would be wrong. That's a very expensive claim to make.
Well, like I say, we can make an observation at water level at 20 miles where I live, or I can see Ibiza from a bit further down the coast, which is 100 kilometers away. I can go to Blackpool back in England, and I can see the Isle of Man from Blackpool, which is 100 miles away. So the observations at water level suggest there's no curvature. And as we all know, when we're in an aeroplane, the height or on the top of a mountain, the higher we go, the further we can see. And if you watch the Red Bull skydive at 39 kilometers altitude, even the Red Bull skydive, he opens the door of the capsule and the horizon is still at the level of the camera. So the horizon should go down as we go up. If it was curving down in all directions, the further we see, the further down the horizon should be when you look for the horizon.
I have a question.
So as the horizon doesn't go down...
Okay, I have a question. This is just for I'm just curious now. This is not to get to any point. Why do you think, so what's your explanation again, I just want to know how you, in your own world, how you come up with explanation for things. Why is the scientific community, why are all the scientists disagreeing with you? Why, is there a conspiracy to hide the truth? Why is the most scientists, when they conduct experiments, they get different conclusions than you? Is there an evil
What
conspiracy, something
experiments? I
happening?
just keep hearing that word experiments. I hear the
So
word
I can give you one.
experiment, but can you name
I can give you one.
Just
experiments or one observation?
no. Before the experiments, okay, they didn't conduct any experiments. Okay, they're just lying. Why are they doing this? Why are all these scientists
No,
lying?
they're not lying.
Or
They're not lying.
okay, what is happening
That's
here?
why I said I think you.
Okay, what's happening?
Because it conflicts.
No, why?
Trying to answer it conflicts with your worldview, so you would dismiss it and come up with theories and explanations to shun it off.
So the scientific community has the evidence to see that the globe is not the Earth is not a globe, and they're just denying it because it conflicts with their already existing beliefs. That's your claim. Even though they make their careers okay. Do you understand? Do you understand that scientists get their fame and money and everything by actually showing that the already existing theories are wrong? That's how they make it. That's the entire point of being a scientist.
Yeah, but if the peer review system is being, controlled by people that have a bias, then certain papers will get published and certain papers won't. And people that try to publish papers that go against the narrative might lose funds, grants. This is all superstition. I'm just saying there's two observations that we can all make that suggest there's no curvature. But the reason I'm not a flat earther is because we have evidence in scripture, like the Quran talks about 7 heavens. We know there's 7 music notes. We know there's 7 colors in the rainbow. We know there's 7 celestial bodies in the sky. We know that the human.
When you say we have evidence in scripture, when you say we have evidence, you claim to use a scientific method, and you just said we have evidence in scripture. I don't know if you understand what the.
You also just pointed to a bunch of things that are 7 that are all pretty arbitrary, and like I could very easily argue that there's a lot different. Like you just said a bunch of stuff that if you ignore all the things, what's frustrating to me, Howard, is that like you're accusing us of glossing over evidence in order to support our worldview when you're doing that over and over and over again. So like, for example, we talk about experiments that prove the curvature of the Earth. You talk about how you can see a long way over water. Sure, but you can't see at sea level a long way over water. You can very easily look up pictures of boats as they go over the horizon, and they don't just fade into the distance, they disappear from the bottom up. So either every boat sinks when it goes away, or they're going over the curve and you're seeing the top of it as it descends as the last part. And this is something that like was recognized thousands of years ago. Eratosthenes calculated the curvature of the Earth, like, God, it wasn't like 200 something BCE when he stuck a stick in the ground. Somebody sent him a letter from like either Cyane or Swenet. I don't remember where it was, but like they said that on the equinox when the sun is at the zenith, they can look down a well and see the reflection of their head in the well. The sun is perfectly overhead, and at no other time during the entire year is that the case. And so Eratosthenes stuck a stick in the ground in Alexandria, and then did the same thing, however many, like 100 miles away north in Cyane or wherever, and calculated the distance, the differences between the shadows on the sticks at this particular time, and was able to calculate the curvature of the Earth and calculate the circumference of the Earth down. I think he calculated it to like 25,000 miles, which is within 1% of what it actually is, because the dude was dope at trigonometry. So like, this is like not news. This is thousands of years old knowledge that we've had for a long time. And as I said a minute ago, everything that we know about the universe verifies this. Everything would have to be wrong. The way that gravity works, crushing things in space into a sphere, it makes sense. And if you're saying that the Earth is anything but a sphere, then gravity no longer makes sense. Relativity no longer makes sense. The laws that govern chemistry no longer make sense. The laws that govern biology no longer make sense. Like, everything about the universe is wrong, or you're wrong. And I what's frustrating to me about it is that you keep just saying, well, all these scientists are just ignoring all this evidence. But you're not giving any actual evidence. You're giving evidence that's very easily to explain away. You're not giving any independent studies that you've had reviewed. You're just saying, well, this system's corrupt and there's a conspiracy, and it's all this evil people hiding what they want to. They're hiding their worldview. They're protecting their faith. They're doing all these things, and you're not showing any evidence for any of that. So you're just saying things that we have explanations for, as if just saying them is in itself counter evidence, and it's not. And I don't understand how you're squaring that circle in your head, or flattening that sphere, I should say.
Let me just make on one of your points, Forrest.
Sure.
I totally appreciate that you study a lot of biology, so I can tell that you haven't looked much into this, because these arguments have been argued for a long time. None of the evidence that you've just said is exclusive, because shadows with sticks, yeah? First of all, they didn't have telephones or even watches to know if they were doing an observation at the same time, but it's not exclusive, because you could get the same results if the sun was closer and the surface wasn't curved. So if the sun was local, you would get the same results on a level, flat surface. But the reason I was talking about 7 layers of skin, 7 colors in the rainbow, and 7 music notes is because the Quran talks about Earth being 7-dimensional, and so does the Bible. And that would explain a lot of the experiences that people like myself have had with the supernatural.
There aren't just 7 music notes, and there aren't just 7 planets. And like these are just platitudes. These are just lines you're drawing to nothing. And so like there are half notes. There are notes in between the notes. There's actually a whole gradient. Like the reality is not defined by the white keys on a piano, right? And like as far as like 7 celestial bodies, that's by our definition of a planet. Just a minute ago it was 9, and now we redefine. We actually took a look at Pluto, and we're like, yo, actually this doesn't really match up to our definition, so we're going to reclassify it because it doesn't fit into the box that we defined as what a planet is. I super wasn't. I will go to the mat on that. Pluto is not a planet that doesn't deserve to be. But like the point is that this is a definition that we made. If one of the reasons why Pluto isn't a planet is because if we lump Pluto in with the planets, we would have thousands of planets in the solar system because it's not big enough, right? But there's lots of things out there. Eris is bigger than Pluto, so we'd have another planet right there. So like it's just because of the definition that we have. And you talk about like all these different things that all point to a 7. I'm sorry, it's just not good enough. Even if I granted all of that, it's some people who wrote a book noticed a pattern in nature and wrote it down in a book. That doesn't do anything to tell me about any of this other stuff.
But Forrest, how do you explain the fact that we have 7 dwarves? I think, right?
Exactly. 7 dwarves and Snow White. So how do we? Of course.
How do you explain that?
Yeah. So like really, Howard, it's just what you're telling me here is I'm sorry, it's just not good enough for me. And I also don't understand how any of it points to a God, because all I'm getting out of you over and over and over and again is just if this is the case, then these other things. Can you just agree
that so can you hear me, Forrest?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Okay, great. Can you agree that the evidence that you said isn't exclusive with the shadows, because it would still work with a local sun, and there are only 7 visible celestial bodies in the sky? With the naked eye, you'd need a telescope to see Pluto. And
no, because if you're talking about
eye, there's only 7 celestial bodies in the sky.
Well, that's the source of making the 7 number holy, then which they apply to everything else. So that's why 7. It's not because 7 is the direction of causality is the other way around here.
Right. That's why Isaac Newton has said that there were 7 colors in the rainbow. He made indigo just as an extra other blue because he didn't want to say it was 6, because he wanted to say it was 7 because he thought 7 was holy. I don't accept that like the shadows of sticks and all these things are not could also be explained by a close sun for so many reasons, not the least of which being like if the sun is so close, then how do eclipses happen? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like there's a million other issues with that. Also, the time zones wouldn't make sense. The deposition of light would have to be like kidney bean shaped, not round. Like there's so many additional issues with that. What I'm saying over and over is that this is a very expensive claim that you're making. There are so many addendums that go on top of it that you can't back up. Even if I were to accept one of them, I wouldn't be able to accept the next 30 that are the logical necessities of that one.
First, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you go hunt for number 6 in nature, you're going to be able to find a lot of 6s. If you go hunt for the number 8 in nature, you're going to find a whole bunch of things that are in 8s.
Yep.
So I don't know why you're so surprised that so many things are sevens, even if there were.
I'm sure Forrest knows this one. The supposed speed of orbit is 66,600 miles an hour around the sun, which means we're worshipping the sun. Yeah, Helios, the sun god. The tilt of the Earth is 23.4 degrees.
Where did you get that?
90 degrees leaves 66 degrees.
The speed. Hold on a second. See, again, this is what's so bothersome about this call, Howard, is that like the orbital speed of the Earth. I just looked it up to Google it just in case, just to make sure that I'm not talking out of my ass here. The orbital speed of the Earth averages 666.2 miles per hour. So first of all, the rest of the world, aside from one other country, doesn't use miles. In kilometers, it's 107,200 kilometers. Does that number have some special significance, or is it just in miles per hour that your conspiracy is true? And also, what about the 0.2? It's 666.2, or sorry, it's 66,620. So that 0.2, does that matter in the conspiracy, or is that a misnomer? Or what? You're just, if you disregard the 2, then it sounds like 666, right? And then also, even if it was universally accepted that it's 666 somethings, number one, that is a human-made construct of measurement. And number two, how do you get from there to, and that means we're worshiping the sun god? That's it. What does that have to do with anything? That's such a huge leap.
Well,
God, my camera looks like trash. I don't know what's going on with that.
Okay.
No, you're fine, and you're fine on YouTube. This is just on. But by the way, all I'm getting from it, are you saying, Forrest, maybe the metric system is satanic? No,
No, it's the
only
empirical system. It has the 666.
No.
The metric system is the way of God.
Oh, okay. So wait,
the design of the globe, even the curvature.
Howard, do you understand? Do you understand that if we use other ways of measuring, you wouldn't get these numbers? So, are you saying there's something divine or holy about these methods of, these agreed upon methods of measuring the world? You understand that if we use other ways of measuring the world, we would get 666 somewhere else. I mean, whatever measurement you use, you will eventually find 666 somewhere.
Yeah,
or sevens, or 6 or 8.
I was just making a point because you were saying that you could find 6s, and I was saying, yeah, you can find 6s all over the globe. Funny enough, it could be coincidence.
Right.
It's interesting.
And so you
also.
And so you
what
see
about
what we're saying.
6 feet per mile squared. It's okay.
And so you see what we're saying, that just saying I find this number here and there when I'm using arbitrary measurement systems is trash. You understand that doesn't mean anything.
I was making a joke to show how ridiculous this is, but he took it seriously. He was like, yes, there are some 6, and that's a sign as well.
Gosh.
Right.
I'm not getting all excited over the numbers. I was just mentioning that there are a lot of 6s in the globe model. But what I was really saying was the empirical evidence that I've named, which is observations at water and along the coast, like land level as well, and also going up. They're 2 observations that you guys can't refute. And I asked if you have any exclusive evidence to support your worldview, and you haven't. You've only given me inexclusive evidence that can work on either model. And that's the whole thing. That's my point. We've got evidence. I put my money where my mouth was. I offered people 10,000 to prove me at least half of the curvature. It's on my YouTube. It went on Spanish television. It went
Why, Howard? Why is every other thing that we see in space round?
What have you seen in space? You've seen secondary information. Your primary observations show you lights in the sky, which
no,
Howard.
I've been to the Lowell Observatory, and I have looked through telescopes with my own ojos, and I have seen round things in the sky. Why is everything else in space? Why is our sun round? Why is every other star round? Why is every other planet round? Why is everything else a globe and the Earth is not?
I have a question as well.
We can see. Well, let me just answer his other one. Yeah. We can see spherical lights. We know that light gives off in a spherical. Light comes out spherically. It comes out in all directions. So the point is, we see a blue sky, and when we look at stars and planets, We can see them flickering, you know, twinkle, twinkle, little star, which looks like a light under a swimming pool. And we know the sky's blue. And we know that the Bible and the Quran and others talk about there being water above, which would explain how the flood happened as well.
That you're just saying words. None of that answers my question. The reason why stars twinkle and the reason why it looks like it's going through water is because it is going through a medium. It's going through the atmosphere. That's why planets don't twinkle and stars do. It's just because the light's traveling through the atmosphere.
All right. Howard, I have a question. You called in. Hold on. You didn't. You just challenged us to. You know. You just said that you have done some experiments and you have some evidence for your claims, right? And you want us to do what exactly? To challenge you? To disprove you? What is this? What is this challenge?
I offered 10,000. I had to take it down because of the pandemic. I needed the money back. But I offered 10,000 for half of the expected curvature. Half. At least.
But you're saying you are asking. You're saying that we failed your challenge. What did you? You are expecting us. You're calling in on a live show. You conducted an experiment. We haven't seen your experiment, and you're acting like we failed because we are not able to go and test and verify your experiment on a live show. Like, I don't understand what you expected to happen here. Do you think that just because you called us and you claim that you have made an experiment that proves the entire scientific community has been wrong, and we're just supposed to do what? Take your word for it instead of accepting the currently accepted scientific models that is working for everyone out there?
No, I apologize if it came over that way. Science doesn't prove things. I'm saying that I held an offer for 3 years that went viral in South America. The whole of Spain saw it. I was in all magazines and newspapers.
But these are just words on a live show. What are we supposed to do? Sure, if we were... Yeah.
What's the evidence? I can offer $10,000 right now to prove that unicorns don't exist, and nobody can do it, and therefore unicorns exist. And like that's not telling it. A contest that goes viral on the internet is not scientific evidence. What experiment do you have that shows that the Earth is actually flat?
We're just supposed to trust that his experiment is better than everyone else's, I guess, on a live show.
No, I'm saying that I held an offer for 3 years, and in those 3 years, nobody could provide counter evidence to support.
Because nobody gave a damn, Howard.
I don't even know if that's true. He's just making a claim.
That's not science. That's not. How many scientific journals do you think put up somebody and like, hey, I think evolution's right. Here's $10,000 to anybody who says I'm wrong. And if they don't say I'm wrong, then I'm right.
Who was the judge, Howard? Who was the judge of whether or not somebody has met the standards of proving you wrong? Were you the judge of it as well? Like, who was judging whether somebody or not met your challenge?
That's a fair question. I told people to post evidence on Facebook so that everyone could see it, and only 1 or 2 people tried, and one of those used forged Photoshop imagery with black and white images. So the point is, for 10,000 euros, nobody could provide a reproducible.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Show at least
one person on Facebook photoshopped an image and didn't win $10,000, and that means that all of science is wrong. Like, I wouldn't waste my time either if I know you're supposed to be the judge. Obviously, you're not going to give me the 10,000 because you could just simply say like, yeah, you failed. If you're the judge, why would I waste my time? Obviously, you're not going to give me the 10,000. You're the judge. It's so frustrating, dude. Anyway, Howard, we've been on this call for over 30 minutes. We've been very patient with what you've been saying, and I think we've been very polite as well. And all you've given us is I offered money and nobody won it, and that's the evidence that you have. And like, this is not something that's a faith-based position for us. When you get a science degree, one of the things you do is check these things and verify them for yourself and understand how these things were discovered in the first place and how you can prove them today. And over the course of this call, I've given several examples, and you just have given us like, yeah, but I could say the same thing. But you don't have any tests for that. You just say it. And like that's simply not good enough for us. So if you want to try again sometime, feel free to call back again sometime, but we're going to move on, all right?
I appreciate you being polite, but can I just say so that you don't misrepresent me? I might have explained myself wrong. I wasn't the judge. I told people to post it on my Facebook so that everybody on Facebook could see the evidence.
How many scientists did you actually commission to make the call?
I've been on national Spanish television.
That's not an answer.
In South America,
Howard, the question is, once everybody would post their evidence, but at the end of the day, who would decide whether or not you should give them the 10,000 or not? Who was going to make the decision?
Everybody on Facebook could give a majority vote. Nobody did because there was no evidence posted. That's the whole point. So
you had an election. You decided who was right based on election. People voted. That was your standard? That was your standard. People would vote who's right. That was your standard. Do you know that?
You could see the evidence, and if I denied it, then people.
That's not my question. That's not my question, Howard. Answer the question. I understand that everybody could put their evidence and everybody could see the evidence. At the end of the day, how would you decide who has met the challenge? Was it you or was it a voting system? What was it?
It was a voting system. If anybody didn't,
that's not the scientific method. That is not the scientific method. You claim to understand science. That is not the scientific method, Howard. Thank you for showing us that you don't understand the scientific method.
Like votes on Facebook does not constitute a peer-reviewed study. It's I'm sorry, it's just not good enough. And that's all we get over and over and over. It's so frustrating. I've ended the call. It's just that's deeply problematic. And then to say like, well, I'm doing science better than all these scientists. And I wasn't joking. Literally every single thing about everything that we know about the entire universe would have to be incorrect in order for the Earth to not be a freaking globe. And like to say, yes, every single scientist is wrong. Every single person is wrong. Your own eyes are wrong. Easily testable things that you can do in your backyard are wrong. All of it's wrong because nobody gave me evidence on Facebook. I can't imagine having that kind of arrogance and then trying to be serious on it's so annoying.